Morning and evening, for 40 days, the same enormous man walks down into the same valley and roars the same challenge. I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. 2 armies hear him. Not one soldier moves.
This is the story of David and Goliath, the way the Bible actually tells it. 1 Samuel 17, in the King James translation. Every quoted line you will hear comes straight from the chapter, and the chapter starts with the man himself. There went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. In the traditional reading, that is over 9 feet tall. And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. That coat alone weighed well over 100 pounds. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, a shaft the size of a loom timber. And his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. He is so heavily armed that another man walks in front of him just to carry his shield.
A short piece of context, because the chapter is set somewhere real. The text says the Philistines camped between Shoko and Azekah in Ephes Damim, and that Saul and the men of Israel camped by the valley of Elah. You can stand in that valley today. It is a corridor of low hills between the Philistine cities on the coastal plain, Gath, Goliath's hometown, among them, and the hill country of Judah, where Bethlehem and Jerusalem sit. Whoever holds this valley holds a road into the other side's heartland. Archaeologists have even excavated a fortified town from around this period on a ridge overlooking the valley. That does not prove the duel happened. It shows this was exactly the kind of frontier where 2 armies would dig in on facing slopes and wait.
Back to the text. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. And the terms Goliath shouted are total. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. One duel instead of a battle, and the losing nation serves the winner. Saul piles up incentives, great riches, his own daughter in marriage, freedom from taxes for the champion's family. 40 days of that offer standing open, and still no volunteers.
Then a delivery boy walks into the camp. David is the youngest of 8 sons, keeping his father's sheep at Bethlehem. His father Jesse sends him to the front with bread, parched grain, and 10 cheeses for his older brothers. He arrives just as the champion comes up again. The text says he spake according to the same words, and David heard them. The soldiers around David run from the man. David asks a question instead. What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?
His oldest brother hears him asking, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David. And he said, Why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride, and the naughtiness of thine heart. For thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. David's whole answer is one line. What have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he keeps asking, man after man, until word of the shepherd's question reaches the king.
And David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Saul says what everyone in the camp is thinking. Thou art not able to go against this Philistine, to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. David answers with the only credentials a shepherd has. Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear
and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. Then he names the conviction under it. The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. Saul gives in. Go, and the Lord be with thee. The king dresses David in his own armor, a bronze helmet, a coat of mail, a sword belted over it. David tries to walk and stops. I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. He takes all of it off.
One more piece of context, because the next verse is often read as a fairy tale. A sling was a real weapon of ancient armies. 2 cords and a leather pouch that could send a smooth stone at bone-breaking speed. Excavations across this region have turned up piles of rounded sling stones, and ancient armies fielded whole units of slingers. It was also a shepherd's everyday tool for driving predators off a flock. So David is choosing the weapon he has drilled with his whole working life, and the one weapon in the valley that kills from a distance. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. Goliath looks at what Israel has finally sent against him, and takes it as an insult. Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? He curses David by his gods, then makes his promise. Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. David's reply is the center of the whole chapter, and it deserves to be heard in full. Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. The text then pauses to underline what just happened. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, but there was no sword in the hand of David. Then he stands over the giant, draws Goliath's own sword, kills him, and cuts off his head with it. When the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. The armies that stood frozen for 40 days now pour down the ridge. Israel chases the Philistine army back down the valley road. The text says, to Sha'araim, even unto Gath, and unto Ekron, all the way to the gates of Goliath's own hometown. The chapter ends on a strangely quiet note. Saul watches the shepherd walk out to fight and asks his general, Abner, whose son is this youth? Abner has no idea. So when David comes back, the giant's head in his hand, the king asks him directly, whose son art thou, thou young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. No speech, a name, a father, a town. The chapter has already said the thing it once remembered, in David's own words down in the valley. The battle is the Lord's,